Hello, and we're going to ask you some questions. So, first up is Freya.
I'm Freya, and my questions are, can you tell us a bit about where you grew up and where you live now?
Okay, now that is a very good question. In fact, I was born in Jamaica, and I was born, some of your parents may have come from Jamaica, if not your parents, your grandparents. And I was born in a place called Clarendon. So when you speak to your relatives a bit later on, ask them whether they know where Clarendon is in Jamaica, because that's the part of Jamaica where I was born. And in the 1950s, I don't know if you've done history yet, but a lot of people from the Caribbean had an opportunity to come to England because after the war, after the Second World War in England, they needed a lot of workers. And Jamaica, where I'm from, was very much part of what they called the British Empire then, but it's now called the British Commonwealth. And so people like my parents had an opportunity to come over to this country. So what happened to me was this, that my dad came over first of all to work, then my mom came over, and I was left to be brought up by my grandparents and by my uncles and aunts. And then when I was about 4 years old, I can remember that I then flew over to the UK. I flew over on my own with my sister. And the thing that I remember more clearly than anything, remember that the Caribbean, Jamaica, is very, very hot. It's hot all the time. And I arrived in England when it was like the weather we now have. And it was snow. I'd never seen snow before. It was the first time I'd ever seen snow. And I went around tasting it, couldn't understand. I thought it was sugar that was falling from the sky. So I can remember going around tasting all this snow and freezing myself, really, really cold. And where we lived when we arrived, when I arrived in the UK, was in Birmingham. So I was brought up in a place called Small Heath in Birmingham, and I went to school in Small Heath in Birmingham as well.
My second question is, what made you become a farmer?
The reason I decided to become a farmer is I'm from a family of 11. And I've got 8 brothers and sisters, and we lived in a very, very, very small house. It's called terrace houses. In fact, there was only 2 bedrooms in that house, and therefore all of us had to be cramped into the small space. I can remember I had to share the bed with my brothers, 3 of us in one bed when I was growing up. So we were very, 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 very poor. And I can remember, in fact, my mother having to try and feed, try and imagine this, my mother trying to feed 11 people on 1 chicken. And so there's not much to go around with 11 people. And because we were poor, my father had an allotment. And I don't know if you know what an allotments are, but allotments are small pieces of land where you could then...
I know, because I have one.
You've got one. Oh, brilliant. Because you could grow vegetables and fruit there. So it was my job, perhaps around your age, to help my dad on this allotment. And when he wasn't there, I was the person then that had to do all the watering on to make sure that the plants didn't die. And I loved it so much being on this allotment. I thought, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to want to have my own farm because I like this way of living. That's what made me decide to have my own farm.
And my last one, is there any Black female farmers?
I do not know if there are any Black female farmers. I know that I think there's a bit more Black farmers coming about now, but when I started, I was the only Black farmer around. And what we need to do is have more Black people becoming farmers. But it's very, very difficult. If you're Black, it's very difficult to be able to get a farm, because traditionally, what happens in the farming community is that parents hand their farms down to their children. So the children don't actually have to go and buy it. So it's handed down through the generations. Whereas if you're an immigrant, you don't have that to hand, you don't have anybody to hand the farm down to you. So you have to be able to earn a lot of money to be able to go and buy land. And I was very lucky that I was able to go and earn a lot of money so I could go and buy land. So I would like to see a lot more black farmers who are actually going to go and become farmers themselves.
Thank you, Wilfred. And next up is Ben.
Hello, Wilfred. I'm Ben, and my first question for you is, can you tell us a bit about your family?
My family, well, as I said, I'm from a family of 11. I've got 8 brothers and sisters. I'm the eldest boy, so the oldest is a sister of mine. Her name is Dornell, and she was born in Jamaica, and I was born in Jamaica, but the rest of my family, my brothers and sisters, were born here in the UK. So I've got, they do all sorts of stuff. So I've got one of my sisters who is a psychiatric nurse. Her job is to look after people with mental health issues. I've then got another sister who is a social worker. In fact, she's there to make sure that children are protected in their homes. I've got another sister who works as a banker. I've then also got a brother who is a driver, another brother who is an accountant. And then quite recently, we lost one of my brothers. His name was Donald, and he died a few years ago of cancer. And he was only sort of 50 years old when he died. And the message behind that is to make sure that you live your life to the full, because you just don't know how long you are going to have.
Thank you very much, Wilfred. My next question is, what is the proudest moment of your career and why?
The proudest moments of my career is when I was able to achieve my dream of buying my farm. From the age of 11, I decided that I would like to own my own farm. And it took me 35 years to be able to work hard and earn enough money to buy this farm. So when I was able to then buy it, it was like the proudest moment of my life, because it took 35 years to do it.
Thank you very much. My final question is nowhere near as sensible as either of those. It is, would you rather only ever eat sausages or cakes for the rest of your life? And I'm very intrigued about this because I'm actually pescatarian. So I'd like to know how good sausages actually are.
Well, I tell you, if you're pescatarian, what you need to do is try our plant-based sausages. We now do a range of plant-based food. So we do plant-based, made out of soya, we're made out of protein. And so we've got sausages, we've got burgers, we've got mince. You've got to try those for those people who don't eat meat.
I've tried quite a few vegetarian sausages over my time, yeah.
Well, these, I bet you, I will guarantee you, okay? I tell you what, when we finish this interview, say to your mom that she needs to go onto my website and buy some Black Farmer plant-based sausages. And when she does that, tell her, well, I'm going to give her a code, and that she should put that code in and she'll get a discount. And then you've got to come back and tell me whether these sausages are the best vegetarian sausages that you ever tried. I can guarantee you they are fantastic, because if you're a meat eater, you're used to having really great flavor. So one of the things I want to make sure is that it's really good flavor. And then also you ask the question, what's best, cakes or sausages? Well, cakes ain't good for you long term, whereas protein is. And so whilst there's enough protein in those sausages, I would go for sausages anytime.
Thank you very much.
Great answer there, Wilfred. And can I just say I can vouch for your plant-based sausages. They are amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben and Wilfred. And now we're going on to Amal.
Wilfred, I'm Amal, and I've got 2 questions for you. My first question is, what part of your job do you enjoy the most?
Well, the part of the job that I enjoy the most is bossing people around. One of the things about being a boss is that you don't have to do anything. You just boss people around to get them to do it. So when you leave school, try and become a boss, because your job then is to tell people what to do, okay? So I would much rather be a boss and bossing people around rather than people telling me what to do. And that's what I think we should all either aim to be your own boss, so nobody tells you what to do, or become a boss so you can tell people what to do. So yeah, I enjoy bossing people around.
My second question is, if you were a sweet, which one will you be and why?
If I was a sweet, I like sherbets. What I like is something that has one of the things. In fact, one of the things I'm sort of keep eating, actually, now that I think about it, is lockets. And lockets are these things I like because I'm always suffering from a sore throat or something like that. Lockets have got that nice little middle bit. So what I like is a little surprise. After you suck away for a while, suck, and then you get that lovely sort of trickle syrupy in the middle, which is what I love, that lovely surprise.
Two more fantastic answers there, Wilfred. And yeah, as you can probably see in my chat, I'm known as Kirsty, or otherwise known in the newsroom as Big Boss. But I'm interested to know, mini reporters, do you think I'm bossy? Do I boss you around?
No.
That's good to know. Maybe I need to work harder at being more bossy.
I'm Wilfred, and now next is me. My first question is, have you always wanted to be a farmer, and why?
Yes. So as I said, that I had this dream to have my own farm when I was 11 years old. And the reason why I wanted to have a farm is because I don't know if any of you sort of live in a town or in a city, but you know, you're surrounded by lots of people. When you've got your own farm, or if you're in a rural environment, you've got a lot of space. You don't feel as though people are on top of you. And so I feel as though you have a chance to sort of think. So it's a quality of life that I like, that actually, you know, even if you sort of live in London or understand what it's like being in any big city, it's fast paced. One of the nice things about being in the country is people stop and say hello to you. People are polite. People are much nicer. So that is what I like. Now, because I'm a boss, I don't have to do any hands-on farming. I do not get up at 4 o'clock to do the milking. I do not look after the cows or look after the fields. I've got somebody else that does that for me. I just tell them what to do. So that's what I like, is the way of life rather than being in a city environment.
Thank you. And my second question is, what is the most difficult part of your job?
The most difficult part of my job is being responsible for a lot of people. So a lot of people's livelihoods depend on me. I employ 20 people, and I employ 20 people, and they have some people who are in Spain, some people in Portugal, some people in Northern Ireland, Scotland, all over the place. Because now that we have COVID, people don't work in offices anymore. They work from home. And if you're a boss, yeah, it's one thing you could boss people around, but you're also responsible for their lives. And so the success of the company means that they will sort of keep their job. So that is the greatest responsibility, is that you want to make sure that you're doing the best for the people that you employ.
How did you get so famous to earn the title Black Farmer rather than someone else who would have?
Okay, well, I am famous, and it's nice to have got the title as the Black Farmer. And one of the things I think about, lots of people want to be famous. So perhaps all of you want to be famous, and people want to be famous because they want to be recognized for doing something. And what I want to be recognized for is to be giving people opportunities. That's why I'm doing this interview now with you all. I want to be famous for inspiring people, because as you go through life, you will know what it's like when you're at school. Sometimes you have good days, sometimes you have bad days, sometimes you have big challenges. And what will help you keep going forward, what helps you, give you hope, is people who may say a nice word, somebody who will inspire you to feel that you can do it. And that what I want to do is use my fame to inspire people that they also could achieve their dreams, especially when you are your age. The most important thing is, do not let any adult, don't let anybody track you from your dreams. The only thing that you should ever hold on to is your dreams. So if I could inspire you people to understand that, I think I would have done my job.
Thank you. My second question is, what is your favorite product that you make, and how do you resist not eating all the food you make?
Well, it's a wonder I'm not a fat pig with all the food that I actually make, but I have to make sure that I'm disciplined. But I've just launched a jerk sauce. If you like spicy food, I love spicy food. And I've just launched a jerk sauce, which is now available in Marks and Spencer's. And what I like about that is that bringing new tastes, bringing new ideas to the British public, so they could actually get a chance to sort of taste Caribbean style sort of food. So at the moment, mine is all about sort of jerk sauce, anything with jerk in it, which is really, so it's better than Indian food in a way. It's a similar nice spicy flavor to it.
If someone was interested in farming, what would your advice be for getting them started?
Okay, if you're interested in a farmer, becoming a farming, make friends with somebody like me. Say for example, on my farm, we have a barn, we have something called Scarlett's Barn, which is named after my daughter, and people come and stay there. You know, they come, it sleeps 4, so people with their family, you know, come along and to get some experience on a farm. And, you know, farmers always want help to help with milking the cows. They always need help. So find a farmer that you could actually go and spend the summer helping out with, and then you'll get a real sort of feel for what it's like working in a farm. And there's lots of farmers out there that would love to give you an opportunity to get that sort of experience.
Hi, Wilfred. It's really nice for you to come and join us today. My questions are, what did you do before farming?
Well, that's a very good question. Before I was a farmer, there's a number of jobs that I did. When I left school, I went into the army. And then when I left the army, I then went into catering college, where I learned to be a chef. And then I got a job at the BBC. So I got a job at the BBC making food programs. So in fact, I traveled the world making programs about food and drink. And I gave a lot of the big name celebrity chefs their first break in television. I'm the one that gave Gordon Ramsay his first break, James Martin his first break, Raymond Blanc. So most of the celebrity chefs, I was the person that they gave them their first break in television. So I worked at the BBC making programs about food for 15 years. And then after I did that, I then left the BBC and then set up my own marketing agency. Like, it's a bit like an advertising agency. So I did that, and then I was responsible for advertising brands like Lloyd Grocery Sauces, Kettle Chips, Plymouth Gin, Cobra Beer. I did that, and then that gave me the money to buy my farm.
Wow, that's a lot.
It did a lot.
My second question is, what is your favorite animal on the farm and why?
Well, actually, what I have on my farm is that I have cows, and there's milking cows. So this is a bit of lessons for you. There's cows that are bred specifically to produce milk, and they're the black and white cows. They're called Friesians. And then they then have cows which are bred to be beef cattle. So when you have your burgers, when you have your steaks, they come from these beef cattle. And there are different types of breed cattle. There are things, and there's all sorts. So on my farm, I have a breed which they call South Devons or Ruby Reds, and they're reddish in color. That's why they're called Ruby Reds, and they're bred for meat. So basically, what happens is that you don't really have to do much with them. All you've got to do is let them. So at the moment, all of my cows are inside for the winter. And then in May, they're then let outside, and then they stay outside up until about October. And all they feed off is water and grass. So you've got to make sure that the grass is really good. And then in the winter, so what you do when you're farming is that when in April, you cut the grass, and that's what they call silage. And the reason you cut that grass, you save it for the cows to have in the winter. And then you will then cut hay, and that's the sort of bedding that you put down, which becomes the cows' bed for the winter. So you cut the grass and then you put it in that black stuff to keep all the nutritions in. And that's what they're fed during the winter, and the hay keeps them nice and warm. And then in the summer, you just let them out. And you should, when you want to see cows in May, when they're let out, they go jumping. They're so excited to see all this lovely new fresh green grass. They really are. It's like watching kids discover water for the first time. It's absolutely wonderful as they sort of jump out excitingly. So yeah, my favorite animal would be a ruby red cow.
My next question is, if you had a superpower, what would it be and why?
Ooh, if I had a superpower, what would it be and why? What I like doing is giving everybody opportunity. So whatever situation that you find yourself in, someone is going to give you the opportunity to either get out of it or to help you achieve your dreams. So in a sense, being a boss, what you're doing is that you're helping to give people opportunities to fulfill their dreams. And that my success in life is down to other people giving me opportunities. And what I want to do is spend my life giving up. It's the greatest superpower to have. The greatest superpower to have is to give other people opportunities. That's what makes life living. And whilst I could keep doing that, I believe that I have a fantastic superpower.
That's really nice. And my last question is, what is it like to be one of the few Black farmers?
Well, what I find is this: in life, we have challenges. And what I'm trying to do is make it easier for the likes of all of you to become farmers. So, you know, I'm what they call a pathfinder. That my job, when my parents came to this country in the 50s and 60s, they came here in order to better the lives of their children. That's the reason why you leave everything that you know, everything that you're familiar with. It's a very courageous thing. Just think about it. If your mom and dad said to you now, right, we're going to leave wherever you're living and we're going to go to another country, you know, that's going to be quite tough, because you're going to have to start all over again. So that's like a big challenge. Now, that's what my mom and dad did. They said, right, we're leaving Jamaica. We're going to come to the UK because there's better opportunities for us and our children. And that is why I have managed to achieve the things that I've achieved, because they had the courage to do that sort of initially. So part of my responsibility is to make sure that I'm actually doing that for other people, going out and making things happen. So by the time it comes to you, if you wanted to become a farmer, it'll be a lot easier for you to become a farmer than it was for me being a farmer. That's part of what my responsibility is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all of your information. It was really nice to speak to you.
Thank you very much. Really glad that everybody enjoyed it.